Every time you break a promise to yourself, something changes. Not dramatically. You don't hear a sound. Nothing inside you visibly breaks. But somewhere beneath the surface, you've just added another piece of evidence to a story your mind is building about you. I say I'll do things, but I don't always do them. Maybe you've experienced it. You tell yourself you'll wake up at 6. You set the alarm. You imagine tomorrow's version of yourself getting up early, working out, studying, creating. And for a few minutes, you believe it. Then morning comes, the alarm rings, you're tired, the bed is warm. And suddenly the promise you made last night doesn't feel as important as the comfort you're feeling right now. So you press snooze, just once. Tomorrow will be different. But tomorrow comes, and the same thing happens again. Eventually, something strange begins to happen. You stop trusting your own plans. You can still make promises, you can still set goals, you can still imagine a better version of yourself. But somewhere inside, there's a quiet hesitation. Because you've seen this before. You've heard yourself say it before. You've watched yourself fail to follow through before. And this is the real cost of breaking promises to yourself. It's not the missed workout. It's not the unfinished book. It's not even the lost hour. It's what those moments teach you about your own word. Why is it so much easier to keep a promise to someone else? You tell a friend you'll meet them at 7. You show up. Your boss gives you a deadline. You work toward it. Someone is depending on you, and suddenly discipline feels easier. But when the promise is only yours, the standard often changes. Why? Because external commitments come with immediate consequences. Someone else is waiting. Someone else can notice. Someone else can be disappointed. A promise to yourself is quieter. The consequences are delayed. And when the reward is also delayed, your brain naturally has a much harder decision to make. There is the version of you that wants something later, and the version of you that wants something now. The future self says, "Get up, this matters." The present self says, "5 more minutes." The future self says, "Finish the work." The present self says, "I'll do it tonight." The future self wants the result. The present self wants relief. And relief is immediate. That matters. Because humans are extremely sensitive to immediate rewards and immediate discomfort. The phone is here now. The bed is comfortable now. The food tastes good now. The difficult task can wait. And every time you choose immediate relief over a commitment that mattered to you, you reinforce a pattern. Not because your brain has decided you're a failure, but because repeated behavior teaches you what to expect. This is why modern convenience can be so deceptive. Almost every form of discomfort has an escape route. Bored? Open your phone. Don't want to work? Watch something. Feel anxious? Distract yourself. Don't know what to do? Consume more information. The problem isn't that any of these things are inherently bad. The problem is what happens when escape becomes your automatic response to resistance. You begin training yourself to believe that discomfort means leave. And eventually, the moment something becomes difficult, your hand reaches for the exit before you've even consciously made the decision. That creates another problem. Your actions begin contradicting the person you believe yourself to be. You say you're disciplined, but repeatedly avoid difficult work. You say you're ambitious, but repeatedly choose comfort. You say you're building a different life, but your days keep looking exactly the same. That contradiction creates tension, because your self-image says one thing, while your behavior says another. And eventually, the behavior starts winning. This is where broken promises become more expensive than they appear. Imagine you meet someone who promises you something every day and breaks it every day. At first, you believe them. Then you become skeptical. Eventually, you stop taking their promises seriously. You don't need to hate them. You simply stop expecting follow-through. Something similar can happen internally. You make a commitment. You don't keep it. You make another. You don't keep that one either. After enough repetitions, your plans start losing authority. Not because your goals stopped mattering, but because your own mind has learned to discount your intentions. You say, "Tomorrow I'll start." And a part of you already knows, "We'll see." That's internal trust. And once it weakens, self-improvement becomes strangely exhausting. Because every new goal requires you to convince yourself all over again. You need motivation to make the promise, then motivation to believe the promise, then motivation to act on the promise. And when motivation disappears, the entire structure collapses. This is also where the inner critic gets louder. You tell yourself you're going to change, and the voice in the back of your mind answers, "You said that last week." You make another plan. "You've made this plan before." You get excited about a new beginning. "Let's see how long this one lasts." That voice can feel cruel, but sometimes it's simply reflecting accumulated evidence. Your mind has been watching your behavior. It has noticed the gap between what you say and what you repeatedly do. The answer isn't to attack yourself for that. Shame rarely creates a durable solution. The answer is to create new evidence. Because trust is rarely rebuilt through one grand declaration. It's rebuilt through repetition. You don't rebuild self-trust by making a bigger promise. You rebuild it by keeping a smaller one. This is where the entire strategy changes. Forget the perfect morning routine. Forget the dramatic transformation. Forget promising yourself that from tomorrow onward, you'll become a completely different person. Choose one commitment, small enough that you can keep it, and meaningful enough that keeping it matters. 5 minutes of focused work, 10 push-ups, 1 page, 1 application, 1 paragraph. 1 task completed before you touch your phone. It may sound insignificant. It isn't. Because the first objective isn't the result, it's evidence. You're teaching yourself, when I say I'll do something, I follow through. And that's a very different kind of reward. The reward isn't simply finishing the task. It's what finishing the task means. You begin collecting proof that your words and your actions can occupy the same reality. Then the promise gets slightly harder. 5 minutes becomes 10. 1 page becomes 3. 1 workout becomes a routine. Not because you've suddenly discovered extraordinary discipline, but because you're building a history of follow-through. This is where neuroplasticity becomes relevant. The brain is not fixed. Repeated patterns of thought and behavior can strengthen some responses and make others more automatic over time. That means your previous behavior does not have to become your permanent identity. You can practice a different response. Instead of, "I'm uncomfortable, so I escape," you practice, "I'm uncomfortable, so I begin." Instead of, "I missed one day, so I quit," you practice, "I missed one day, so I return." Instead of, "I'm not ready," you practice, "I'll start before I feel ready." The brain learns from repetition, so make the repetition count. There is a difference between a goal and a non-negotiable. A goal says, "I'd like to do this." A non-negotiable says, "This happens." The trick is not to make your non-negotiable enormous. In fact, the smaller it is, the harder it is to rationalize abandoning it. Choose an anchor, something that happens regardless of your mood. Maybe it's 20 minutes of deep work. Maybe it's writing 1 page. Maybe it's training for 15 minutes. Maybe it's reading 10 pages. Then, make the environment help you. Put the book where you can see it. Leave the workout clothes ready. Keep the phone outside the room. Open the project before you go to sleep. Remove the friction between the promise and the action. This matters because discipline is not only about willpower. Your environment constantly influences what is easy and what is difficult. So stop designing systems that look impressive. Design systems that survive bad days. Because bad days are part of life. Your schedule will break. You'll get tired. You'll get distracted. Something unexpected will happen. A system that only works when everything goes perfectly isn't a strong system. It's a fragile one. Real discipline has to survive chaos, and this is where identity matters. Don't keep the promise because you're trying to prove that you're productive. Keep it because you're becoming someone whose word has weight. That's a different goal. You are no longer asking, "Did I have a perfect day?" You're asking, "Did I keep the promise that mattered?" That question changes everything. There is a deeper form of discipline, one that has nothing to do with waking up at 5 or checking every box on a productivity app. It's self-governance, the ability to direct yourself without needing someone else to supervise you. No boss, no audience, no applause, no consequences arriving immediately. Just you and your word. That is where internal authority comes from. Not from controlling every emotion, not from never failing, not from becoming some perfectly optimized machine, but from knowing that when you tell yourself something matters, you will make a serious attempt to honor it. And when you fail, you don't turn one failure into an identity. You return again and again and again. Because internal trust compounds. The person who can trust themselves becomes more willing to take on difficult things. They can work alone. They can tolerate uncertainty. They can delay gratification. They can recover from failure without collapsing. They don't need constant reassurance that they're capable, because they've accumulated evidence. And that evidence becomes confidence. Not the loud kind, the quiet kind. The kind that doesn't need to announce itself. Eventually, the goal isn't even discipline anymore. It's alignment. Your actions begin matching your values. Your promises begin matching your behavior. Your identity begins matching the person you've been trying to become. And that is a form of freedom. Because once your own word becomes meaningful to you, you stop needing constant external pressure to move. So here's the challenge. Don't build a new life tonight. Don't write a 20-step routine. Don't promise yourself that everything changes tomorrow. Choose one thing. One. Something small. Something specific. Something you can complete within the next 60 minutes. Then do it. Not because one action will transform your life. It won't. Do it because you're beginning a different relationship with yourself. You're showing your mind, when I give my word, I mean it. Then tomorrow, do it again. And the day after that, again. Let the evidence accumulate. Because self-trust isn't something you find, it's something you build. One promise, one action, one kept word at a time. And eventually, the voice inside your head won't say, "We'll see." It will say, "If you said you'd do it, you'll do it." That is internal authority. That is discipline. And perhaps the greatest form of power is knowing that you can finally trust yourself. Mind of influence.